In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you our political system is broken. The two-party system is dead. They have become one and the same.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
This is always the killer, the one that just destroys that never Trump argument. Hillary Clinton will fill the Supreme Court with liberals. She'll also appoint federal judges with a liberal bent to them.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
Arrogant, sanctimonious, self-righteous, sabotaging Trump.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25%, they can't afford. I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now. The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side. ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS. Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said.
What realized is that the Bill Kristols of the world, the never Trump people, they were just never serious. They never had any kind of ground game. They never had an actual candidate they could pick.
And in a surprising and disturbing move today, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate just agreed that rifles are weapons of mass destruction, and people on the terror watch list should not be allowed to purchase guns. So in other words, the party of freedom is liberty for me, but not for thee. Go figure.
Compromise where you can. Where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree.
All right, folks, well, happy Thursday evening. That's right. This is hour number 2 of the Rick Robinson Double Shot. We just finished Jen and Rick. Now we're on to America Off the Rails. So hope everybody's having a great Thursday evening. Thanks to everybody who's been tuning in with us. In case you missed the last hour, we now have a new feature. When the shows are live, we do have the ability to take calls. As long as the shows are live, you can even listen using the number that we can take calls at on your phone in case you are out of bandwidth or away from an internet connection. You can dial the number, put in the PIN. We'll just let you kind of hang out there. Occasionally we might try to bring you on the air, but you never know. But all you got to do is say, hey, I'm just calling in to listen. We'll put you back on mute. Life's all good. This feature does only work while the shows are live, and the shows must be using the call-in feature for it to work. So it isn't always going to work. But if you hear us talk about being able to take calls, it's likely going to be using this new feature. So you can always call in. We may not answer or take calls right away, but we can hear when you start calling in, so we'll know when you're there. We will only be taking calls one at a time. We can actually stack them up now. But the good news is I can see the number you're calling from, see where you're calling from, so I should be able to call out your last four numbers and the town you're located in based on your area code, and then you should definitely know whose turn it is to start talking whenever you do call in. So it's a new feature. We're going to be adding it in. We're probably going to be actually using that tomorrow night for the first time officially. This is just kind of been the shakedown night for it. Because tomorrow night, on Friday Night with Rick and Dan, the America Off the Rails episode that we do on Fridays that is about to become a show of its own once this show moves to its new daytime slot. No, I'm not telling you when yet because it's still a surprise, but this show is moving to daytime and it will eventually be expanding to a 3-hour time slot. Unfortunately, schedule not permitting, it will be pre-recorded for a while, but at some point I do hope to get to the point where I'm doing radio and writing full-time, and we're going to start transitioning that way, because the only way that I'm going to get there is to get there, so it's time to start making and taking the steps that I want to make sure that happens. So it probably won't be for a couple of weeks, but in a couple of weeks, America Off the Rails will be moving to a daytime slot. Once we get a little closer to the date, I'll start telling you guys what to look forward to and when you can find us. Because, we do have rather loyal listeners right now. Most of you listen Memorex because you keep telling me the show's too late. The good news is the show's moving earlier. The bad news is it won't be live for a while, but it will still be a show and it'll still be there, and it's at least at a time that everybody can listen a little bit better than 11 o'clock Eastern at night. But hey, I'm the boss around here, so I can't really gripe about the time slot. I gave myself this time slot because I used to do 7 Eastern when I used to work during the day and lived 5 minutes from where I work. Now I live 55 minutes from where I work and don't get off work until almost 5 o'clock. So doing a show at 6 o'clock in the evening would be a little difficult. So that's one reason why we moved it later, and I've been here now for a while, and we have some other shows that are going to be coming over right here on KLNR Radio, so we're going to be moving my time slot to make room for them, and to expand it to the point where hopefully within the next several months I can do what I've always wanted to do, which is do radio full-time, get paid for it, write full-time, get paid for it, and basically gear up to start covering all the conventions and everything else a lot more heavily. I've gotten my feet wet in a few of those, and it's something that I really enjoy doing, so we're going to try to make sure that we start getting to attend more of those, both as a station and as this show particularly, and even the other shows that I do. Let's face it, at this point, I'm back to doing 4 different types of shows, 3 of them with co-hosts, because I couldn't do 4 different types of shows all the time on my own, but it brings different flavor. And I like the show that I do by myself. Everybody else likes the show that I do by myself, but I love also having co-hosts, and I love the difference in opinions and the different flavors that it brings to everything. So those shows will be continuing as well. They will still be in evening time slots. So just as a reminder, America Off the Rails will be moving to a daytime time slot. We'll give it out next week as we get 1 week closer to the jump. And then Jen and Rick will remain at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. And then also on Fridays, we will still have Friday Night with Rick and Dan, which is the preliminary title because it's what I've been calling it when he's on with me on Off the Rails. I'll get some feedback from him. We'll get that changed, named up, etc. Okay, so enough with the housekeeping, enough with the talking about station business, and let's get into the topics of the day. So this happened last night. I'm going to play this real quick. Hang on just a second. Pretty sure this is the right one. Or apparently not. Hang on, my bad. I was about to start rolling commercials. I don't know. That's not it. So there was an audio thing that I did earlier, and I thought I had it ready to go, and then I went to go try to pull it up, and then it wasn't here, so I thought it was saved, and apparently Maybe I didn't save it after all. Okay, so we don't necessarily have to have the audio of him screaming about it, but the simple fact of the matter is, yesterday when Trump went to Mexico, he sounded like somebody slipped him some Ambien. Then last night, when he did his speech, he was a little more hardline. I mean, I'm not going to say he went all the way back to the hardline stance, because there were still quite a few things that were softened. He snuck them in, though. And we're going to talk about, we talked about this a little bit last night, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more tonight because of some of the things that have happened today since that speech yesterday. The simple fact of the matter is, folks, he still softened on a lot of things. I mean, yeah, he made his typical rhetoric yell about, Mexico is going to pay for the wall, and we're going to build it, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be a physical wall. It's going to have over-the-wall sensors, under-the-wall sensors, so everybody is talking about how they're going to be able to climb over the top or go under it. They don't know what they're talking about because it's going to be huge. It's going to be an actual physical wall, and Mexico is going to pay for the wall. And it's going to be huge. See, the thing about that was, folks, he's had this advisory council now for a while, and there were quite a few people on his advisory council that were Hispanic. And I am a firm believer at this point that Donald Trump was saying one thing to them behind closed doors and saying completely different things to those of you that support him, because they were completely flabbergasted, because they expected him to do what he did in Mexico, because it kind of showed a bit of a pivot, more of a willingness to work together, maybe figure out what's actually broken, figure out what we need to do to fix it. Honest answer to that, hat tip Stacey Lennox, because you said it while I was thinking it today, so I want to make sure that you at least get mentioned for it. The easiest way to fix the immigration problem from Mexico doesn't have anything to do with our southern border. It has everything to do with theirs. The net migration from Mexico since, I believe, 2012 has been nearly zero from Mexico itself. The people that are coming into our country are not coming in from Mexico. They're coming in through Mexico. So if you want to have Mexico help you figure out how to fix the immigration problem, especially since at this point it's not their problem, we should probably be trying to figure out a way to help them build up their southern border. And then we could actually use the laws, the rules, and the technology that are already in place to beef up our southern border without putting the Great Wall of immigration between us and Mexico. Look, I mean, come on. If anybody actually thinks the man is going to build a wall, I have somebody that I can hook you up with that would sell you a really nice bridge in Brooklyn. If you believe that, then I know this bridge is the right thing for you, because he's not going to be able to build the wall. Presidents don't dictate policy, they shape policy. That's what nobody has seemed to understand about why everything is as broken as it is in this country. We're not supposed to have presidents that rule with a pen and a phone. That's why even Saturday Night Live started making fun of Obama when he passed amnesty with a pen and a phone, called it immigration reform, didn't run it through Congress, did it through executive order. Even Saturday Night Live, of all people, was picking on Obama about that one. Because it's not how we're supposed to allow ourselves to be governed. We are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and the government that is governing us does so with the consent of the people. That's why all of us that truly understand this get so angry when all of you that are now on the right are almost as bad as the ones on the left over here talking about, well, Donald Trump just needs to make all these unilateral decisions and make everything better so he can make America great again. No, we need to make America sane again. We need to remind folks that the Constitution needs to come first. The Constitution is not just something that looks pretty hanging on your wall. It's if you like the Constitution, it's not something that you use as birdcage liner. If you don't like the Constitution, yes, Mr. Obama, I'm looking at you. And it simply put is the founding document of our current government system. Now, you can get into arguments even with the very politically minded who start talking about things that came before the Constitution that were actually the founding of our supposed country. And all I say to you about that is don't let the highbrows get you down, because the simple fact of the matter is without the Constitution, we wouldn't be the country that we are today. That's why it's important. That's why it matters. That's why those of us that still think conservative ideals are the best way to run the country, for the most part, Look, I'm not like the rest of the conservatives. I'm not going to tell you that conservatives have all of the right answers. I've also come to terms with the fact that things like gay marriage, while I don't agree with it, and I have to pray about it all the time to keep myself from saying something stupid that may offend other people, because I don't agree with it, it's not my place to tell other people how to live their lives unless they start coming to me saying, well, I'm a Christian, but I think I should be able to sleep with so-and-so anytime I want to, and I don't care if we have the same plumbing or different plumbing. I have a problem with that. But until you bring it to me, it's none of my business. And I'm going to start, I should start making the show graphic, the little Kermit memes where you sip in the tea and you're like, yes, I don't like gay marriage, but the fact that you're gay married, that's none of my business. I don't like immigration reform, especially when it's done by a pen and a phone. That is my business because that's a direct violation of the Constitution. Congress is the branch of government that deals, the legislative branch, for those of you who need a translation, is the branch that deals specifically with immigration. We haven't allowed them to deal specifically with immigration for a very, very long time. I'm going to roll all the way back to one of the first conservative presidencies that I can remember of my lifetime, and that was Mr. Ronald Reagan. Anybody remember when Ronald Reagan got hoodwinked and snookered into signing the amnesty deal back in the 80s? California, which up until that point was predominantly conservative and Republican, promptly, very promptly, went completely the other direction. Sorry, I had a bit of a scratch in my throat. Had to get a drink there. And this is what we're talking about doing again. And then you have Trump, who says one thing but does another, who tells people one thing behind closed doors and obviously is saying different things in public, because let's not forget, even last night, after he said that there is going to be no amnesty and Mexico is going to pay for the wall, he then went on to say, and we're going to build the wall, and once we have the wall in place, we're going to make sure that we have everything in place to make sure illegal immigration stops. Then and only then can we deal with this number of illegal immigrants that were already here. Notice he didn't say deport them. Look, I'm sorry, maybe it's my background, but I'm a rule of law kind of guy. If you broke into my house and all of a sudden the cop said, well, because you let him stay in here for 30 seconds, you got to evict him now? No, get out of my house. It's my house. I pay for it, not you. Get out. I view immigration much the same way, and it makes a lot of my friends that are more liberal than me and even more libertarian than me completely crazy, because most liberals and libertarians are into the whole open border thing. I'm not. I'm just saying I don't think we need an actual physical wall. First of all, it's going to be ugly even if it does ever happen. Second of all, it's going to be terrible if it ever happens. Third of all, it's not going to stop anything. Simple. It's not going to stop anything. It's just not. Because it's never going to happen. He knows it. Anybody who listens to him and actually listens to hear what he says knows it. Pardon me a moment. My computer is acting a little crazy. All right, hey, Captain Morgan, see you over there in the speaker chat. Want to say good evening to you. I see you saying hello. Actually, we have a call-in number. If you want to give us a call real quick, you can. You don't have to, but I'll drop it in the speaker chat that you're in right now. And if you want to give us a call, you're welcome to. If not, you can either continue to talk to us through the speaker chat, or we do have a chat room over on klnrradio.com. You can go ahead and hop into there too. But here's the number and the pin just in case you want to use it. Or you can, again, go to the chat room at klnrradio.com, chat, and I think Ron was still in there. I haven't checked back in a minute. Actually, it looks like Jess and Ron are both still in there. All right. So back to what I was talking about before I realized I was talking to people in about 14 different places. And that is Trump with his immigration policies. The simple fact of the matter is what he's saying now are exactly the same things that were being said by Rubio and Jeb Bush. Except when they said them, it was tantamount to amnesty. Now that he's saying them, it's not amnesty. Then with another breath, he talks about how he's going to make the wall and it's going to be a physical wall. And then he goes on to say that we're going to have to do something about this 11 million illegal immigrants, which is true. We are. I understand that fact. But like I said, I'm a rule of law guy, and I understand not wanting to separate kids and families, etc. But the simple fact of the matter is, if they broke the law to get here, they need to be made to leave, and they need to be made to wait in line, just like everybody else that's trying to do it legally. Now, we could do all kinds of things to make the immigration process a lot easier. We have the technology today to do much more in-depth backgrounds a lot quicker than we used to. We could make sure that the folks running the border stations that are predominantly not even manned anymore, or not fully manned, have access to things like facial recognition software to make sure that people are coming across the border. If there's somebody that we know shouldn't be here, then obviously we have ways to be able to find that out now. Technology is a wonderful thing. We should start using it. There are so many ways that we could tighten our border without building a wall. And look, I don't ultimately care if somebody wants to reinforce the border by putting up maybe a sturdier fence, but we don't need the Great Wall of Mexico between us and America. It's not necessary. And again, he's not going to build it anyway, because Mexico's not going to pay for it no matter how many times he says they are going to pay for it. They're not. So can we just be real for 1 second? All right, Captain, if you're listening, there really isn't a link for call-in purposes. You can call in one of two ways. If you have Skype, you can actually Skype the radio station's Skype account, or you can call this number if you want to call in. That number is 716-748-0624. Once you've dialed the number, just hit enter the pin 80093. I'll hear a chime. I'll know you're there. I'll come over and let you in so you can talk. Or you can go hang out in the chat. Looks like you're already there. Yep. So we've got now Jess, Ron, and Kit. So, Have Morgan and Ron in the same chat room. This could be bad. Playing. Hey Ron, no fair using my line. But yeah, you're right. You sometimes you get rowdier than I do, so I guess you're allowed. All right. So the other things that are interesting that are going on in the news today. There's a big thing that's been trending all over Twitter today that I actually didn't even notice until Jen mentioned it on the last show, and that is this new hashtag taco trucks on every corner. So apparently there has been some sort of a Twitter war going on between the Mexican president and Donald Trump. Of course, the Mexican president has been tweeting in Spanish, so if you're not semi-fluent, it's going to be a little confusing. But apparently he got irritated when he realized that at about 5 o'clock this morning, when he thought everybody was sleeping, Donald Trump tweeted out the fact that Mexico was for sure 100% going to pay for the wall. So in Spanish, the Mexican president tweeted back, "Mr. Trump, as I told you when we spoke in person yesterday, Mexico will not be paying for your wall." And then there started to be all of this argument about taco trucks and how we needed racist to make good... racist. We needed... Sorry, it just reminds me that it sounds completely racist because somehow the argument got started that we need illegal aliens to be able to make tacos. that thanks to illegal aliens, we could have a taco truck on every corner, and when we put the wall in, they're gonna be gone, and then we'll miss their tacos. Yeah, really. That's how crazy Twitter's been today. That, and again, kind of as a rehash for those that were listening on the first hour on Jen and Rick, there's this nice news story that's come out about Donald Trump, who supposedly gave a $25,000 gift to the Attorney General of Florida in 2013, who was considering opening an investigation into Trump University. Of course, his foundation that was ultimately responsible for the giving the gift, even though they tried to funnel it through another foundation with a very similar name, was ultimately found to have broken the law. Now the IRS is fining them for breaking the law, and yet because of that $25,000 gift, the Attorney General of Florida at that point suddenly decided it would probably be a good idea not to look into the whole situation. So big surprise there. As usual, they figure out a way to get a little money to grease a few palms, and all of a sudden it's all over with. But the trouble now, because now it's all over the Washington Post, this has happened. It's exactly what I've been telling everybody was going to happen for months. For months and months and months and months. Hey, I think we have a caller. Hold on one second. All right, caller, you're live and on the air. This is America Off the Rails. How are you?
I'm doing all right. This is Kevin Morgan. You asked me to give you a call and test this out.
Oh, sure. I just figured you were here. We might as well have you call in, see what you were up to. We haven't really talked too much except for Twitter lately, so I thought, and you've been on the show with us a couple times here and there over the life of the show, so I thought we'd bring you back on, give everybody a chance to let you say hello and just kind of hang out for a bit. So other than the stuff that we've been talking about, because I know a lot of that you're probably not ready to bring out on the air, what all you been up to other than things that I already know about?
Mostly I've been working on that project that I'm not ready to talk about yet, but a lot of it is cool. I found myself doing what is easy for a lot of people, and that is to just send out a bunch of barbed tweets and Facebook posts and such. And then I noticed that I very rarely see a post that is why we should vote for Trump or should vote for Hillary, and it's all about not why we shouldn't vote for the other guy. So it got me thinking, and I do have some projects going on trying to overall encourage humanity to be nicer to one another. Because imagine what we could accomplish if we worked together, regardless of, difference of opinions. That's going to happen. But instead of fighting with each other, we actually work together. Imagine what we could get done today.
No, exactly. And it's one of the things, it's actually one of the reasons why I started all of this when I started it nearly 7 years ago. Back then, I was a lot more naive than I am now when it comes to politics, and I really thought that there were people that were involved in the government on a larger scale than turns out to be true, mostly, that were really doing things to try to help people. The more I've gotten involved in government, the more I've understood all the things that go on behind the scenes and all the shady things that happen all the time, the more I understand that these people, for the most part, there are a handful that are still there for the right reasons, but most of them aren't there for the right reasons anymore because they've been there so long they forgot what they went there for in the first place, and all they're interested in doing is making sure that they hang on to their power. So, and even this election cycle, when I realized I couldn't vote for either Trump or Hillary, I became seriously, for the first time in a long time, really looking at the Libertarian Party for a couple of different reasons. They're actually on the ballot here in Oklahoma, and I thought, hey, what better way to do one of the things that I've always said I wanted to do, which is give Oklahoma more choices, than vote for the Libertarians. But then I started having Libertarian candidates on the show. I've had local chair that I've talked to here that hasn't come on the show yet. I've had the national chair on the show. And the more I get involved in that party, the more I realize that really at the local level, they're just like the rest of us. They seem to be genuinely interested in making changes. But then you start talking to the folks at the national level, and they're really not that much different than the other two parties that they claim to be fighting against. They espouse a lot of the same ideas. We've had the party that's supposed to stand for freedom suddenly come out and talk about how the carbon tax is a good idea. Now suddenly it's not a good idea again. How the no-fly list becoming the no-buy list is a good thing, according to Mr. Weld, the vice presidential candidate. And I just keep flashing back to all these people that keep talking about what freedom is supposed to mean to them and how we need to pick them to ensure that we get to keep our freedoms, but they don't even seem to espouse the same things that they're telling us that we need to. And that's where I am today. It's time to see about actually finally starting to make some changes. I think the project that you're working on, that hopefully we'll get to talk about more in depth when you're ready, is a good place to start. I myself am involved in what started as the Rescue America Project, which is now a group that is working to form a new political party to try to give those of us that do still think conservative ideals are the best way to go, for the most part, a new home, since apparently none of the parties want us, because that was another very disturbing thing that I found out from libertarian folks, both locally and within the national hierarchy. When they realized that conservatives were looking for a new home, the first thing they did was cut off Austin Peterson at the knees, because they didn't want conservatives coming to the Libertarian Party on conservatives' terms. They wanted to make the conservatives come to the Libertarian Party on the libertarian terms, and they thought Austin Peterson was too conservative for their messaging. So instead, we have Gary Johnson, who thinks carbon tax is a good idea, and his biggest push is to legalize marijuana. Woohoo! Go Libertarians. Sorry, bit of a rant there.
Well, a couple of things come to mind here. One, we live in the information age, and so it's incredibly easy to Google something and find a meme that was most likely created by some other fella sitting in his living room. But we have a tendency to take those as fact and regurgitate them. The art of fact-checking is largely lost. Second, whenever a politician on any level from any party opens their mouth, what they're saying is vote for me. And I think that's why you're kind of getting the readings that you're getting, is they say things that we want to hear in order to get the vote. The third thing, last election, I thought it was an awesome idea, because let's face it, the odds are against a libertarian or some other third-party independent presidential candidate getting elected. However, the governor of New Mexico, not this election, but last election, ran for president and put out, knowing we're not going to get elected, but if we can get 5% of the popular vote, next election will be a three-party ticket. And I don't think anybody can argue that having more choices to pick from would be a good thing.
No, I mean, at this time, the biggest thing that I want to do at this point is break the two-party stranglehold, because if you really look at it, especially if you paid really close attention between the RNC and the DNC, they had a lot of the same talking points. I've never seen that before, but they were talking about a lot of the same things, and it was things that up until now the Republican Party had really not wanted anything to do with, like the gender inequality, because most of us that are conservative really don't see things quite that way, because people are equal, whether they want to admit it or not. They're as equal as they can be, because not even two men are exactly equal. I mean, and that's the difference between conservatism and liberalism in the modern senses anyway, up until the GOP got overrun by a bunch of crazy people, is it wasn't so much about equality, but just the ability to try to do things your own way, to try to make things better for yourself, by yourself, and do things on your own. We've lost the ability to do that. I don't know how many people, when I started this 7 years ago, looked at me like I was crazy and said that it was never going to be anything. It was never going to get anywhere. Nobody was ever going to listen. It wasn't ever going to be anything that was going to be able to make a difference. And I look at all the things that I've done in the last 7 years, and I did those things in spite of everybody looking at me like I was crazy. And now it's not exactly where I was hoping it was going to be by now, but it gets bigger every day. It gets more noticed every day, and I'm going to keep plugging away till I get it where I want it. And that's the difference with a lot of us, like folks like you and me and some other folks behind the scenes that have just decided we've had enough and we're going to find ways to make things better, even if we have to take the long road to get there. And the other folks that just want to sit back and wait for the government to fix it all. The problem is anymore, though, the government wants us to be the people that want to sit back and wait for them to fix it all. Because they know the more reliant we are on them, the less reliant we can be on ourselves. And that's all they're really worried about anymore, is making sure that we need them as much as possible so that we can't ever live our lives without them. And both parties are doing that now. And what scares me is from what I've seen from the Libertarian Party, now that it's finally getting some attention, they seem to be doing much the same thing. So when it really comes right down to it, we have started being given what is at best an illusion of choice, and what is at worst a lie that there is a choice. But that's just my opinion.
But you are, in my opinion, absolutely correct on all counts. And if there is anybody listening to this show who is thinking about taking action to try and make some sort of positive change, anyone who does that, you, Rick, me, there are people out there that are going to tell us, look, you can't. You're going to fail. It's not going to work. And if you quit, at that point, you make them right. You're absolutely correct. The government wants us to wait on them, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. These are people that are corrupt, all of them, and the whole entire system is so corrupt that they're above the law, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. So if you're listening and you're wanting to make something change, do it. Maybe you will fail, but would you rather look back and say, I gave it everything I could, or I just quit because everybody said I couldn't do it? I'd much rather fail than quit. And along the lines, even if this 12th Fleet idea doesn't go, I'm going to give it the best shot I have anyway, because I believe that changes need to be made. And if I fail, I will be able to say, look, I saw that, I gave it the absolute best I had, and I'll be able to sleep at night. If I quit because people are telling me it's never going to amount to anything, that's on me.
No, and I keep being reminded of something that, and it was one of my grandfathers that first told me this, and I know it was an old saying, and I know it wasn't his originally, but it always stuck with me. And he was the first person that I can ever remember telling me this. The only true failure is to never have tried at all. And that has always stuck with me, because, look, the simple fact of the matter is none of the things that you and I are doing, or all the other things that we're involved in, all the side projects, all the different things that we're doing that most people don't even know about, they may not ever work. They may all fail. But the simple fact of the matter is, by the time it's all said and done, knowing that I tried, knowing that I pushed the envelope, knowing that I did everything I could to try to make a difference instead of just sitting on the sidelines watching and wringing my hands, at the end of the day, that's going to make it not a failure, because at least I can look back and say, you know what? At least I tried to do something. And that's what I focused on every step of the way for all of it, whether it was the writing for the blogs, and I've moved on to several now and actually have a shot at a paid gig here, hopefully pretty quick. And then now on second iteration of a radio station, because the first one didn't work out so well. I've been on terrestrial radio. I've got several other stations that are looking at putting the show on terrestrial radio. I have a syndication group that's currently reviewing my stuff. And again, I've been on terrestrial. Right now I'm not on terrestrial. I'm working on getting there again because it worked out great, but it wasn't exactly a good fit, so now I'm looking for other places. And that's what happens when you're doing things on your own. You try things. If it works, you keep going with it. If it doesn't, you scale it back, you keep going, and you find another way to do the same thing. But the key is not to quit. And that's where we've lost so many people, because we've become this society that thinks everything needs to be wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow in 48 minutes, not counting commercials. Nobody's willing to put in the hard work anymore. And by nobody, I don't mean absolutely nobody, but when you talk to most everybody anymore today, they don't want to put in the hard work. They want to go get paid to work somewhere for 8 hours, pay their bills, go home, watch TV, eat dinner, and go to bed. I do that already. I do that on top of all of this, but that's not enough for me. And it's not because I want to be rich. It's not because I want to be able to sit back someday and have this freaking 14-car garage house with 14 stories and 8 million cars. It's because I want to be able to be one of the people that has money that can actually affect change in positive ways. It's one of the things that I've been griping about ever since I started this show, is all of the people that have made it, that have gotten to the point where they have money, where they could actually be doing things positively, and they do them to a point, but then they stop. It's like all these crazy preachers, all these prosperity preachers that have like houses with 14 million rooms. Why do you, as someone who's preaching the gospel, need a house with 14 million rooms and 14 cars? You don't need that. I'm not judging you about it. I'm just telling you there are so many other things that you could do with the money. And that's what I don't understand. It's like we get to a certain point and we lose sight of why we started things. Everybody that's ever had a good idea that was looking to make money, I think probably all started with the same idea of, at least I hope, that I want to do things to make the world a better place, and then all of a sudden we get a little bit of money and we lose sight of that. And so more people come up and they're like, well, this time we're going to do it right. I mean, it's like you look at Walmart as opposed to Costco. Costco is a great business model. The CEO makes a comfortable living. The folks that work there make great wages. Walmart, not so much. CEO makes crazy amounts of money. Most of their employees are on food stamps. But I can't fault Walmart for it, because it's a free market. They're entitled to pay their people what they want to pay them. And people, if they sign up for the job, then they obviously know what they're getting into, and hopefully they're thinking, well, maybe at some point I'll be able to work my way up. But again, it just always goes back to choices. Do you, as someone who's the CEO of Walmart, want to be looked at as a guy that made $40 million when $1 million a year would have worked, and then you could have dispersed the rest of that money to your employees to make sure that they had more money, which then in turn would make them happier, more productive to work for you, stay with you longer, and not only that, I don't understand why we hoard everything anymore when it comes to money. Because, think of the things that you and I could do if we had access to the money that some of these people do, and they do nothing with it. That's part of what annoys me. Because we have all of these people with all of this money, and they sit on it like they're waiting for something that they're going to be able to spend all of their money for all at once.
No, I agree. And there's a couple of thoughts that I have right quick. One is, anybody who is familiar with the law of supply and demand, we talk about people who lose sight of things and people who don't take action because they're afraid or they get demotivated along the way. Every time I go out anywhere, there are help wanted signs. If the wage at Walmart is such that it's not a living wage, you have the choice to work somewhere else. And if enough people make that choice, Walmart will find themselves with a demand or with a supply of jobs that there's not enough demand to fill. And, of course, that's how you make more money. I don't want to take up a whole lot of your show, so I'm probably going to hop off of here. But I do want one more time to encourage anybody who is listening, if you want to make a change, regardless of what that is, the differences of opinions is part of what makes America great. We just have to have those differences of opinion in a positive way. Go out. Take action. If you are not the leader type or the entrepreneur type where you want to start your own, volunteer for a cause that you believe in. Get up off the couch, shut the TV off, go out the door, and do something to make the world a better place. So that's actually what I'm doing, what you're doing. We're doing it in different ways. On some points we agree, on some other points we disagree about, what's going on in government and everything. But the point is, get up, take action.
No, I mean, exactly. You and I are never going to agree on everything, but I'm never going to agree with everything on anybody. So the point is to find the commonalities and try to find a way to work together. And that's where a lot of movements fall short. Because it's either they'll work with anybody because they're just desperate to work with anybody, or they don't want to work with anybody. And there's a fine difference there, because it's one thing to work with folks when you have things in common with them, even if it's not 100%. You want to try to make sure that you do line up on a lot of your points. And this brings me to the last topic. So, I mean, at this point, if you want to go, you're welcome to, but we're almost to the end anyway if you want to hang out. But my last topic was going to be something that came up about the Tea Party today, and I was in several different groups talking about this, and talking about the fact that Bannon, who is the head of Breitbart, but also now intricately woven into the Trump campaign, is actually a self-proclaimed Leninist. Bannon actually worked his way up through the Tea Party movement because he was saying all the right things. He became a rather prominent member of the Tea Party group, even though his ultimate goal was to destroy the system that he was trying to circumvent through the Tea Party group, and he'll even admit that to you today. He doesn't like our government system. He wants it to be completely destroyed and replaced with something else. And he is a self-proclaimed Leninist. And that's when a lot of groups get in trouble, because they go, well, we agree on about 30% of stuff, so that should be good enough, even though there's about 70% that we don't agree with, and the most important things are over in that 70% column. So I'm not saying just look for commonalities and don't worry about how small the commonalities are. You want to try to at least make sure that you guys are lining up on about at least 7 out of 10 points, because that way there's less friction between you. There's also less likelihood of somebody like Bannon coming into the Tea Party, co-opting it, becoming one of the biggest Tea Party member leaders on the East Coast, and then basically circumventing it and helping to destroy it from the inside. I can't prove that he did that, but I do know for a fact that he has told a lot of different people that his main goal is to destroy our form of government and get it replaced. And now he's got the ear of a presidential candidate. That in and of itself is scary. But that's pretty much all we had for tonight. I realized we didn't take a break, so we're probably going to play one here at the end just to make sure I actually get a chance to pay some bills. This has been the America Off the Rails show. Want to give a quick shout out and thanks for Captain Morgan for calling in, hanging out with us for the last few minutes of the show. And also want to give a quick shout out to the affiliates, whether that's AMFM247.com, SHRmedia.com, or Red Nation Rising Radio, along with many others. Whether you're listening to us live or replay through one of those folks, or through podcasts through FM Player, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeart, iTunes, and a bunch of others. Just want to thank you, whether you take the time to listen live or Memorex. It doesn't really matter to me. Just the fact that you take time out of your day to listen when there are legitimately millions of other choices does make me very happy, and it's one of the things that gives me the ability to get up and get out of bed every day, is knowing that I get to spend at least part of my day with you guys. So I hope everybody has a really great night. This has been America Off the Rails. I'll be back with you live tomorrow night for the last round of the Trumpkin call-out. We're going to try to bring some Trumpkins on with me and Dan on Friday night. And again, we're not trying to make fun of you. We're not trying to call you names. We do enough of that on a regular basis, because most of you deserve it. No, I'm just playing. But we do want to actually try to have a serious conversation about why it is that you still think Trump is the guy that deserves our vote, even with everything that's happened this week and all the stories that have come out. So tomorrow's probably going to be your last chance to do it. We're going to try one more time. This will be round 4. Every other time we've done it, it sounded a lot like this. But we're going to try it one more time. And, of course, we'll give out the call-in number right before the show goes live, and we'll give it out a couple times while we're on the air. And at this point, folks, I'm out for the night. You guys have a really great night. I'll be back with you tomorrow. It'll be Friday before you know it. Take care.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. game over, man. It's game over.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of a short story through to line edits of a full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.